So we're going to think about sketching the graph of a radical. We're going to think about it really rationally. I'm going to think about square roots. A square root, what's the smallest thing that I could take the square root of? That'd be 0, right? I can take a square root of 0. So if I think about it, I'm going to make an xy graph. I could take the square root of 0. What's the square root of 0? 0 times 3, right? So 0 again. What else can I take a perfect square of? I could take the perfect square of 1. Square root of 1 is 1. What's 1 times 3? 3. I can also take the square root of 4. I'm skipping 3 and 2 because they're not perfect squares, and quite frankly, I don't really feel like dealing with them. So what's the square root of 4? It's 2, and 2 times 3 would be 6. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to graph these points and see if it makes me the sideways parabola that I'm looking for, and then I'm going to be all set. So I've got the point 0, 0. I've got the point 1, 3, and I've got the point 4, 6, and I'm kind of good. I'm going to let that be. And the reason I'm not going to draw an arrow down or to the left is that I can't take a square root of a negative. That's really where my graph is going to start, and that's really all that we're looking at. Let's take a look at this second one right here. We're going to think about it the same sort of way. I can take a cube root of a negative too, though. So this is going to change my graph a little bit. Now, when this is a cube root, it's going to be the inverse of a cubic, which looks like this. So really what we're going to be looking for is kind of a sideways or diagonal version of that. We're going to kind of let the numbers tell us how to graph this. All right, so let's make an XY table. Let's start with the smallest negative square root that's on the graph. So I think probably like the negative square root of 8 would make the most sense. If I looked for the x as negative 8, the square root of that is negative 2, right? And negative 2 minus 5 is going to give us negative 7. Did I say square root? I mean cube root. I apologize. Other cube roots that we've definitely got negative 1. Negative 1 has a cube root, negative 1, right? And then negative 1 minus 5 is going to give us negative 6. We also have the cube root of 0. 0 has a cube root. What is it? 0. 0 minus 5 is negative 5. Let's start heading in a positive direction. I'm going to continue my XY table right here. Pretend it's one big one. And what's the cube root of positive 1? Is going to just be 1. And 1 minus 5 is negative 4. What about, let's just follow our pattern. 8. What's the cube root of 8? Is 2. And 2 minus 5 is negative 3. So what you can see is that my y values are climbing by 1 from negative 7 up. But my x values, well, we're going to kind of take a look at those. All right, so negative 8 would go down to negative 1, where I accidentally already drew something. No, sorry, that is not the case. I was looking at the wrong number. Negative 8 is going to go all the way down to negative 7 right here. And then negative 1 is going to go down to negative 6. 0 is going to go down to negative 5. 1 will go down to negative 4. And 8 will go down to negative 3. So what you can see is that this is the curve that I was talking about at first. Oops, that just auto-turned itself into a straight line. But turned on its side and translated down 5, which hopefully you should have known was coming. So that's going to be our graph. And for me, the best way to do it is just to make an XY table that makes sense.